everyone, Kate Bergner here today with Dr. Tom Phelan, creator and author of 123 Magic, as well as the Manager Mom Epidemic. Dr. Phelan, welcome.
Good morning, Kay.
How you doing today?
Hanging in there, getting through another day with the COVID. I mean, I don't have it, but I'm living with it.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, it seems like numbers in our area are going up a little bit. So,
oh yeah,
I think everyone's dealing with some version of that, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are going to talk about parenting styles. So, we're going to talk about 3 particular types of parenting styles that are fairly common, but may not necessarily create the effect that you're looking for in your house. And then one parenting style that is going to be effective that we should strive to be. So, Dr. Phelan, can you start out by talking to us about what these 3 different parenting styles are?
yeah. There are things that come from either the way you've been parented or from your sort of innate temperament. So some people lean toward the warm or permissive parenting style, what I sometimes call the underdog parent. Some people are more the big dog parent. They're more, T-Rex kind of parents. And then there are some parents who are neither of those, and they're what you can think of as a detached parenting style. They're sort of pulled back from the kids and from the family.
Got it. So let's start by talking about the underdog parenting style, this permissive parenting style. What does it mean to be an underdog parent?
Well, the underdog parent is kind of the pushover. They're good at the warm side of parenting, the doing stuff that's fun with the kids, being supportive, listening a lot. But when it comes to setting limits, that makes them uncomfortable. So their parenting is based more on anxiety and guilt. It's like, I don't want to do something. I'm afraid of doing something that's going to hurt my kids' feelings or make them angry or something like that. So I kind of lay in the background, and that makes the parent more comfortable, but it makes for sort of a disorganized household.
Sure. So what kinds of traits might you expect from children, particularly adult children who have been parented by an underdog parent?
You would expect these kids to have a keen sense of entitlement. A lot of people complain about that in our society anyway. So maybe this is where a lot of it's coming from. Keen sense of entitlement. They can be kind of pushy, kind of aggressive, expect to get their own way. The classical term we've used for this is spoiled brat. And I hate to use that, but sometimes oppositional defiant disorder is another name for spoiled super brat. And so that's the kind of thing that we may get from these anxious parents. It's just a person who comes at you, expects to get their own way, and they're hard to be with.
Got it. The classical term is spoiled brat, huh? I like that. Okay, so then how about the big dog parent? Though from now on, I will forever call it the T-Rex parent. I like that a lot. So what is the big dog parent, and how is a child going to react to this type of parent? Like, how are they going to feel?
Yeah, the big dog parent, their parenting is dominated more by irritation and anger. Kids can, God knows, they can be irritating enough a lot of the time, but these parents have an anger button that's overly sensitive, and they get overly mad, and so they tend to be too dominant. They tend to be kind of frightening to the children. They can tend to yell a lot. They can say things like, "What's the matter with you?" Or the classic, "What did you do this time?" Like you're totally screwing up all the time. And here's another example of it. And when they walk into a room, it's just like everybody feels uncomfortable because you don't know when they're going to get irritated about something. So they are uncomfortable to be with as parents.
And what kind of impact is that going to have on those kids as they grow up with a T-Rex or a big dog parent?
Yeah, these kids are going to learn how to be anxious. They're going to have a lower self-confidence, probably lower self-esteem in a number of areas, and they'll be unsure of themselves. The ultimate of that is sort of what we call or what's been called the imposter phenomena, where you have a person who actually is competent, they get along with people, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and all that, but they don't believe that they are competent or that they're a good person. And that's because the feedback they've gotten has been negative a lot of the time. And even when they're not getting negative feedback, they're worried about getting it. So they're constantly focused on what am I doing now to screw up my life or screw up my relationships with other people?
Yeah.
Not a fun way to live.
It is not. As a person who has definitely experienced some imposter syndrome, not in everything, but around certain areas of your life, it can be. It's not fun to kind of second guess yourself all the time.
Right.
And this is certainly not a commentary on my parents or my parenting at all. My parents are amazing, so I take all of that responsibility for myself. So then let's talk about a detached parent. What does detached parenting look like at home?
Yeah, detached parenting, these parents have a hard time getting involved with other people, getting involved with the kids, getting involved with their daily activities and so on. Maybe getting involved with a spouse too. And it's kind of a sad situation because I think a lot of these folks are really depressed, or what we sometimes call dysthymia, which is a mild form of depression. They're not feeling well emotionally, and that really needs to be looked at and treated so they can have a much more enjoyable and energetic life. But they're just sort of pulled back, and it's obvious, but everybody in the family, they get used to it, and well, that's the way mom is, or that's the way dad is, and they just live with it.
And what kind of challenges would you expect to find in a house with a detached parent?
Well, you're certainly going to find some discipline challenges. I mean, you have the same problem here potentially that you have with the permissive, and that's that the kids can run the house. And the detached parent is not good at setting limits. They're not good at giving affection either. But you're likely to get more chaos at home, and schedules are not going to be followed so much. The work might not get done. Meals may not get cooked. And that kind of thing. And that's day after day after day.
Got it. So, what kind of impact is that going to have on the relationship between that parent and their kids as those kids grow up?
Yeah, well, there is research on maternal depression in kids, and it's kids' behavior. And the kids, when we have that kind of depression, you do have more of a tendency toward what we call externalizing disorders, and that means things like conduct disorder or oppositional defiant disorder. Kids who are sort of aggressively breaking the rules, as opposed to kids who are anxious or depressed themselves. So you get some of these externalizing behavior disorders more often in those families and in those kids.
Got it. So, we've talked about before that 1, 2, 3 magic is more than just a system for kind of helping teach your kids how to behave. It's also a system to train parents on how to parent. And at the very start of the book, you talk about how parents have two parenting jobs. Can you tell us what those two parenting jobs are?
Well, the good parents, we want to be both warm and demanding in general. So if you're warm, that's what the permissive overdoes. If you're demanding, that's what the T-Rex overdoes. So we want both of those in good doses. And so good parents are able to have the warm times with the kids, like reading them a story before bed, but they're also able to be demanding and set limits, like 9 o'clock is bedtime. We cannot do another story. So the essence of 1, 2, 3 magic is to put those warm and demanding into specific behavioral forms for the parents, so they know what they're doing. They're expressing both sides, and that's what research for a long time on parenting shows that warm and demanding parents are the best kind of parents. That's the kind of parents we want.
And what effect does that have? Why are these qualities so important in a parent?
Well, number one, the kids want to learn. One of the things that's important in life is getting along with other people. On the warm side, you get the give and take, interpersonal relationships and so on. The other side of the demanding side is, as a parent, I expect something of you, my child. And that can be connected to something we often call high frustration tolerance, the ability to tolerate not getting your way, or to tolerate the difficulties that life throws at you every once in a while. So I have to learn that life has limits. I can't get everything that I want. And so you have the warm relationships and the high frustration tolerances. Those are both very important adult skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would we've talked about these three parenting types that are maybe not what we want to be. What would you term the parent who does manage to be both deliberate and firm, as well as warm and friendly.
Yeah, they usually call them the authoritative, and it's a tricky word because it's a lot like authoritarian. So authoritarian is T-Rex, authoritative is what we consider to be good. Uh, and authoritative would be the parent, as you just said, who can do both the warm side and the demanding side.
Got it. So what is the biggest thing that might get in the way of the underdog, the big dog, or the detached parent from becoming more of this authoritative parent?
I think the first thing is really needed is an attitude adjustment. I think the underdog parent has to accept the fact that I have a right to be a parent. I have a right to set limits, and my kids, in fact, need that. The big dog parent or the intimidating parent needs to realize my kids have rights. And it's a good thing for me to set limits, but it's also a good thing for me to have a good relationship with them. And so that may not be the thing that comes most naturally to me, but each parent needs to start with an attitude adjustment. You know what? Look at my parenting here, and where do I need to change what I'm doing in order to be the best I can for my kids?
And what is sort of the most important thing that parents who might be parenting in an underdog or big dog or detached style should understand to kind of inspire them to want to become an authoritative parent? Because it's not easy to change, especially if you are the way you are because of the way you were raised. That requires some work. So what do those parents need to understand in order to sort of inspire them to become different?
I think, in addition to what we were just talking about, they need to go from what we call automatic to deliberate parenting. So instead of just, shooting from the hip, or I just do this because it feels good at the moment, or wherever this is coming from, spontaneous parenting, is to give some thought to it. A lot of the things I do, the permissive parents do a lot of warm things good, but they need to do set the limits. And the big dog parents, they set limits well, but they need to learn the others. So they need to look at their style and say, well, I think I need to make a few adjustments here. So instead of automatic, I'm going to go to, let me think this thing through a little bit and practice something. And hopefully when they do the new things, they will feel good about it. They'll get rewarded for it. Because if they don't get rewarded for it, they're not going to keep doing it very long.
Absolutely. And I think that what you said just there is so important for people to understand that if you are parenting in one of these parenting styles, it doesn't mean that you're a bad parent, and it doesn't mean that you're doing it all wrong. It means that you are naturally strong in some areas, and that there are also skill sets that you can learn to help you do a better job as a parent, to raise kind of stronger, more balanced kids, and really to create a healthier home environment. So we're not saying you're doing a bad job. We're saying you're doing great over here, and here are some things that you can build on.
I think so. I think that's a good point too, is it's important to say if we're focusing on these particular styles and stuff, that does not mean that 90% of your parenting is screwed up. You're probably doing most of the stuff you're supposed to be doing. The kids are eating, they're getting to school, they have a roof over their head, they get people to interact with, and let's take it, one step better than that if we can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Phelan. This was terrific. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this video or tag them below in the comments. And if you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, head on over to 123magic.com and get signed up. Every week we send out videos, parenting tips, all kinds of information, sometimes some free downloadables, coupon codes, that kind of thing. So head on over 123magic.com to get signed up, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.